Astro Psych 400 Podcast for Sleep. It's time to go to sleep now. It is time to surround yourself with positive vibes. Let's begin with love. For years I found it difficult to comprehend this word because when a parent says, "I love you" to a child, that is quite different than when a romantic lover says, "I love you" to a significant other, and it is most certainly different when people talk about love in the spiritual sense. I found it quite difficult to comprehend how people could say that they love someone, but then they would turn around and do mean things to that person. Some people believe that there are two forms of love. Some people believe that there are the three forms of love. And some people believe that there is this all-pervading concept known as love. It is within us. It is in the external world. It goes in all directions, all the time, and it is never-ending. It is infinite in the abstract sense. I found that the spiritual definition of love brings an enormous amount of comfort, responsible sensation, and simply knowing that there is a good way to live and a bad way to live, that the human experience is meant to pull us toward this concept known as love, as opposed to the opposite, which in the minds of many is very simply ignoring love. This whole concept of hatred, this whole concept of evil, that's just what it is in the minds of many: ignorance. And once someone has received an understanding of morality, ethics, and virtue, they are on the pathway to love, moving toward a definition of goodness that was not created by any human being, but simply exists because goodness shall exist. I found that the most difficult form of love to evaluate was romantic love. There are some people out there who think that romantic love does not exist. They simply say that you meet a person, you build a relationship, you have experiences with this person, you share feelings and emotions, and that is it. That's all it is. That's what love is in a romantic relationship to some. However, I do not completely accept this because, once again, if there is a definition of goodness in the world, which I personally believe there is, then that should fall in line somewhere on the hierarchy of values. Is it good to be in a loving relationship? Is this concept of building the relationship and sharing the experiences a good thing to do or a bad thing to do? I believe that it is a good thing to do if, once again, it is done in a non-destructive way, in accordance with morality, ethics, virtue, and an understanding that love is meant to be done in the name of goodness. If all of this is done together, done in an ensemble, then I believe it is a good thing to express this form of romantic love, to have the relationship and share the experiences with a partner, and that falls in line with the definition of goodness. Therefore, romantic love is not only about the simple earthly feelings. It is not only about neurons in the brain, neurochemistry, and shared experiences. It actually falls in line with values. So when a lover says, "I love you" to another lover, there is actually a concept there. I find that a more basic definition of love is one that is expressed through familial connections, one that is expressed in the family, because with parents and children, there is a responsibility that is accepted almost universally, that the parents need to take care of the children, that they are going to be responsible for protection, provision, as well as promoting the feelings that are traditionally accepted as positive, such as happiness, kindness, safety and security, if those count as feelings. And even if they don't, the parents are still responsible for those parts of someone's life. And once again, that is focusing on the aspects of non-destruction, and it falls in line with the hierarchy of values moving toward the definition of goodness, and moving away from misery and chaos and unwarranted destruction. The word destruction becomes very important in the analysis of the word love because, firstly, we have to accept that ideas exist. Ideas exist all the time. Even nothingness is an idea. Even nothingness is a concept. So if you have something or you have nothing, a concept or an idea is present. This is one of the few almost universally accepted absolutes in the world. Concepts and ideas are always present. And then if a concept exists, it is experiencing existence. And if it experiences existence, this becomes the definition of consciousness. Consciousness, as defined, is just that, the experience of existence. An idea exists, it experiences existence, and the fact that ideas exist, they experience existence all the time, it forms something that is free from imperfection. In the spiritual sense, people refer to this as bliss. However, I believe that bliss should be perhaps more defined as faultlessness in our contemporary vernacular. Faultlessness. This is an example of something free from fault. The presence of ideas, consciousness, meaning that there is an experience of existence all the time, and this presence of ideas, this conscious experience of existence, is completely free from imperfection. And when we look at this, existence, consciousness, and bliss, or as faultlessness as we have previously laid out, then unwarranted destruction cannot take place. Destruction cannot take place. That means that that is something that has to be eliminated from anything that is trying to move up the hierarchy of values toward this definition, toward this universal absolute, a universal absolute which does not have room for negativity, for anger, for sadness. These are emotions which I personally believe we are not meant to experience. While so many people talk about how anger plays a role in your life or it serves a necessary function, some people even say that anger is an example of the evolutionary response to injustice. Sadness is an evolutionary response to grief. But in the ideal, the part that our brain is meant to be moving toward, these types of emotions should not exist. There simply should be a conscious experience of existence that is present, that is pure, that is free from any type of suffering. And this is explored very clearly in Dharmic spirituality. Perhaps you are familiar with the elimination of desire, or perhaps you are familiar with the concept of the Brahman, where it has been laid out. But this is a form of love. This is a form of divine and spiritual love where someone or something can experience existence all the time. A concept or an idea can experience existence all the time. And many people choose to believe in this concept as something good, and they accept that based on faith, which they have every right to do because that's how the human brain operates. The human brain gives us the ability to accept things based on faith. For starters, human beings do not have absolute knowledge, therefore faith is required in certain uninformed concepts, as well as faith can also be applied to a person's lifestyle choices. Faith can also be applied to someone's favorite sports teams. Faith can also be applied to decisions that one must make. Maybe you've heard the expression, I have faith in myself, please have some faith in me. I have faith in you guys. It is used very frequently. The human concept of faith is not unknown to anyone who has a brain that can function. But to call this process love, I think there needs to be an acceptance. There needs to be something that allows us to accept that it is good. It wasn't created by people because Existence, consciousness, and bliss have existed well before people. Even if there were nothing at some point, existence, consciousness, and bliss would still be present in a unified force, a three-part unified force where nothing can break it. It is an unbreakable form of existence. It is existence itself. It is a concept or an idea that is unbreakable, and faultless, and the human belief system moves in that direction. So I do not hesitate to call that love. It may not be the human concept of love with a red heart and a message that's written on some ribbon that's going across it, but I believe that that is one of the most pure forms of love because it's all around us. There's always existence, and we are always experiencing existence. And the fact that we are always experiencing this existence, this concept and idea that is always present, that is something free from imperfection, faultlessness, bliss, and one day perhaps it can lead us to peace. And this concept of peace and love, I find that it is very well unified, meaning that peace is the end goal, but love is the pathway that we need to use to get there. There are many people who want to promote peace on earth, but what would that look like? Some people think that the human brain does not actually want to experience peace, that if we actually achieved world peace, people would get very bored, and then they would create conflicts purely for entertainment. What this type of thinking lacks from the discussion is that peace is a good concept. It falls in line with the value system that we have just laid out. It is the ideal that we are meant to achieve, and human desire is not factored into that ideal. Someone is not simply going to get control of the hierarchy of values, get control of existence, consciousness, and bliss, get control of ideas and concepts simply because they want them. And what many people fail to understand is that the human desire for control does not equal existence. Someone cannot simply say, I don't want there to be any love, and love can fade away. Someone cannot say, I don't want concepts to exist, and concepts will fade away. Someone cannot simply say that they don't want X to be there, and that X is going to leave. The human brain and the human capacity for desire does not supersede the human ability to love. And just because someone doesn't accept it, just because someone is turning a blind eye to it, just because someone is ignoring it, it does not mean that it does not exist. It does not mean that this concept or idea is not present. It does not mean that love is not present. The human brain can only go so far, but it cannot challenge the unbreakable. So no matter who you are, all around you, there is love. All around you, there is an idea. All around you, there is consciousness, and a form of consciousness that is free from imperfection. If love is all there is, there can be no opposite, as the late comedian Bill Hicks used to say. Some people have a very strong reaction to the amount of commercialism in this world, whether it's the excessive paper cards on Valentine's Day, or people encouraging to give charitable donations at the time of Christmas, thinking that these material things will bring them to a definition of love here on earth. That is most likely untrue. One cannot buy love. However, there is a certain value in symbology and the symbols that surround us. The red heart can often be viewed as a symbol for love. Back in 2017, I tried to make a classification system. The red heart was meant for human love, the purple heart was meant for friendship, the yellow heart was meant for a love of ambition, the green heart was meant for a love of the earth, and the blue heart was meant to be a love of peace. And as I began to share this classification system and to show it to people, They seemed to be rather caught off guard, and they were very unwilling to accept this arrangement. People do not like to be told what to do. People do not like to be told what to think. People do not like to be challenged in a way that is outside of their own belief system. But no matter what, no matter who we are, the idea of goodness is not always up to an individual human to decide. The idea of goodness is not up to any human being to decide. It exists irrespective of the human ability to control it. And some people refuse to give up that desire for control, and they fight back, and this becomes the lust for power. Power is part of life. Power exists. You might even say that we live in a world of power, not a world of morality and ethics. Power is something very real, and power is something that a lot of people want to have. But more importantly, it is not in line with the definition of goodness. Just because somebody has control over a certain number of earthly beings, it does not mean that they have the ability to say that that is conventionally good, that that is universally good, that that is good in the idealist way. Power does not equal goodness, power does not equal the ideal, and power does not equal love. So people will try and fight against even the smallest appreciation of a different way of thinking. People will reject different ways of thinking if it is not their own. They want to be the ones to decide what is good and what is bad. They want to be the ones to decide how we should live our lives. And we will explore these concepts until the day we die, because there is a sense of murkiness in the human experience. Not all of the decisions we can make are very clear. We have to explore them, and we have to do so together. But I personally believe that there is a definition of goodness out there that is called love, that we should seek, that we should challenge, and that we should try and appreciate, and we should learn about it, and we should explore the human experience and find out what is love and what is not, what is peace and what is unwarranted destruction. Because if we're going to use love as a pathway to peace, and love is all there is, peace is just the ideal state that the human beings can experience if we ever were to get there, then before we choose our pathways, before we commit any particular action, we can ask ourselves, will it lead to peace, or will it be leading to unwarranted destruction? Will it be part of the landscape that is going to be centered on love and happiness and joy and kindness? Or is it going to be the other end of the extreme on misery, chaos, and sadness? Happiness, kindness, generosity, all of these things are orchestrated into the hierarchy of values. But as we experience them, we should always remember that they are steps on the staircase. They are rungs on the ladder, but they are not the zenith. They are not the ideal. They are not the absolute, and they are not the end goal. It's called world peace. It's not called world happiness. It's called love, not happiness. I do not believe that they are the same thing, and many people are also in accordance with this. There was once someone out on YouTube who was talking about what is a sin, and he said, a sin is the absence of happiness. And the person he was talking to said, wow, that is so radically not true. If I were to punch somebody in the face and knock him flat on his behind and he passes out cold, I will feel happy. It doesn't mean that I should have done it. Or perhaps a more powerful way to illustrate the example, if there are 100 people in the town and 99 of them want to execute person number 100, it doesn't mean that they're right to execute him for solely because they choose to, even if he hasn't done anything conventionally wrong, solely because they want to execute him. That will improve their happiness? No. that is destructive. The response that was provided by the person who promoted the idea that a sin is the absence of happiness is, if somebody is punching someone in the face and says that they feel happy about it, or if a group of townspeople are executing someone and saying that they feel happy about it, that is not true happiness. Well, then what is true happiness? You you might be thinking, well, you want to have a form of happiness that is not connected to any type of immoral behavior. So then what is the important part? Morality, ethics, virtue. Do you want people to be happy or do you want them to be moral? Of course you want them to be moral because that will eliminate these types of unwarranted destruction that are preventing us from experiencing world peace. And then that will allow us to get closer to this ideal. And then once we actually achieve the ideal, if we were ever to possibly get there, it would be something that would look like bliss, faultlessness, being one with the concept, being one with the idea. Some say that it's impossible. Carl Jung was a very big believer in this, that it's hardly possible for the human brain to be in touch with such an ideal in a complete way. He said that there would be interference. The Jains, in the Dharmic spiritual tradition, also point out that achieving such an ideal would be a very difficult journey. It might seem nearly impossible to achieve such an ideal, but someone has to try. We have to try, because what is the alternative? Very simply, we would not be trying. We would not be trying to make it to peace, to love, to bliss, to faultlessness, to being one with the definition of goodness that was not created by any single person, but simply exists because it is a good thing to exist. There's a show out there called The Fallen State, which also explores the concept of what is love. And the definition that was provided by that program is, love is not hate. If you don't hate someone or something, you love them. And once you begin to think about that, whenever you have these small moments of frustration or sadness or irritation, agitation, when something is allowing you to experience discomfort and discontent, if you do not hate that person, that place, or that thing, then you love them. You love it. You love being there. There was once a statement that was put out by a fictional character that said, I hate him. I know I shouldn't hate him, but I do. And a different fictional character responded by saying, you don't hate him. You don't hate anyone. You don't like that you can't control him. You don't like that you can't control people. When people do what you want, you love them. When people don't do what you want, you say that you hate them. If this person were behaving in a way that you expected that they should behave, you would accept them. This is very simply a case of you not being able to control the actions of other people. But if we follow those words, then there is no hatred. You don't hate him, you just can't control him. That means that hatred does not exist. What is love? Love is not hate. Then you don't hate anyone, you don't hate anything, you love everyone. You love everything. Love is all there is. Love is all around us. Love is in every fiber of our being. Love allows us to experience something that is greater than the human brain. Love is our pathway to the infinite. Love is our pathway to a form of consciousness that cannot be broken. Love is our pathway to experiencing ideas. Some people believe that love and care are the same thing. And on a personal level, I do not believe that love and care are the same thing. I think that caring about someone else is so much more practical. Caring about other people relates to the actions, whereas love is more about recognizing your connection to a person, a place, or a thing. You might say, I might say, I love my favorite sports team. I don't just simply like them, I love them. I've been a fan for 20 years. I want them to succeed. I celebrate when they succeed. I love my favorite sports team. But at the end of the day, it is just a game. I do not really care. And a lot of people choose to eliminate care from their relationships because it's not about a sports team that you are simply watching on the television. It is about making decisions with another person that affect another person, that directly influence someone else's well-being and can have a very negative and unwanted impact on that person. And someone who regularly chooses to make those types of decisions that are limiting someone's ability to achieve a higher sense of well-being is not caring about the person. If someone is being mean to you or selfish or unfair, they do not care about you because they're actively choosing to be mean, selfishness, and unfair. There are many ways for us to love, and there are many ways to experience the concept. There is the saying that Rome wasn't built in a day, but there's a less popular saying that often gets neglected. All roads lead to Rome. All roads can lead to love. All roads can lead us to that place of infinite, absolute, and eternal perfection, to existence, consciousness, and bliss in an infinite way. But there are twists and turns on those roads, deviations from the pattern, ways that will distract us and move us from side to side, ups and downs, and those are bad. Those are places that should be ignored, and those are parts of the journey that are not in line with goodness, not in line with peace, and not in line with love. Love can exist between two significant others. Love can exist between parent and child. Love can exist between siblings, and love can exist between a person and the cosmos. Thank you so much for listening to AstroPsych 400. Good night.